The fork hit the plate before my son's voice cut through the gravy smell. Dad, you're going to apologize to Sarah, publicly, at Danny's Grill next Saturday. I stopped chewing. The turkey was dry anyway. I'd overcooked it, trying to get the timing right for once. The oven thermometer had been lying to me for years. Matt sat across from me, both hands flat on the oak table. His knuckles were white. Sarah stared at her plate like it held the answers to questions she didn't want to hear. I swallowed. Excuse me. You heard me, his voice cracked on the last word. You called her a gold digger at Uncle Frank's funeral. Everyone heard you. She's been crying about it for a year, and I'm done watching her suffer. A year. He'd waited a year to bring this up. At Thanksgiving dinner, with the good dishes his mother bought before she passed. I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. Sarah's fork clinked against the china. She set it down slow, like she was leaving a trap, and didn't want to spring it yet. Matt pushed his chair back. The legs scraped linoleum. She's my wife. You don't get to disrespect her. I looked at her, really looked. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her jaw was set, lips pressed thin. A woman who'd rehearsed this moment, but didn't want to act in it. Sarah, I said, you want me to apologize? She didn't answer. Matt's head snapped toward her, waiting. The silence stretched across the table like the three of us were trying to hold up a collapsing ceiling. I asked her a question. Don't put this on her. Matt's voice got low, like we were on a job site and I'd missed something dangerous. This is between you and me. It wasn't. I knew it the second he said it. Something was sitting behind Sarah's eyes that didn't belong to her husband. I'm not apologizing at Danny's Grill or anywhere else. I put my fork down and wrapped my hands around my coffee mug. The warmth didn't help my arthritis. Nothing helped that anymore. I said what I said because I meant it. At the time. At the time. Matt laughed. No humor in it. So she's a gold digger now. She works 60 hours a week. She paid for our wedding. She's carrying this family while you sit in your garage and whittle. I didn't whittle. I restored furniture. It paid for the roof over my head and the food I put on this table. But I let that slide. The word I used was careful. I said people should be careful who they marry. That's all. You said she was after money. I said love doesn't pay bills, but money problems end marriages. That's not an insult. That's experience. Matt stood up. The chair wobbled behind him. He was taller than me now. When did that happen? When did my boy become a man who could look down at me like I was the child? Here's what's going to happen. He spoke slowly, like I was hard of hearing. Next Saturday, 7 o'clock. Danny's. You're going to stand up and you're going to tell everyone that you were wrong, that you're sorry, that Sarah is a good woman, and then maybe we can move forward. The coffee was bitter. I'd let it sit too long. Everything in this house was a little off these days. What if I don't? Matt's eyes went hard. Then you don't get to see your grandkids. I didn't have grandkids, but the threat hit anyway. I set the mug down and pushed my chair back. What are you doing? He knew. He just wanted to see it. Leaving. You walk out that door, you don't come back into our lives. I stopped at the kitchen entrance. The hinge was loose. Had been for months. I kept meaning to fix it. Matt, I didn't turn around. I paid for your college. I gave you a down payment on your first car. I never missed a birthday or a Christmas. And I sat in that pew with you through your mother's funeral and didn't cry until I got home. I heard him shift. His jacket rustled. He was ready to fight. But I won't be bullied in my own house. Not by you, not by her, and not by whatever's really going on here. Sarah spoke, first time since Matt started. John, please sit down. It was the way she said it, Soft, like she meant something else, like there were words underneath the words. I turned. She was looking at me now. Her face was open, no makeup, 29 years old, and already tired, in ways her mother's generation didn't get until 50. Please. Matt stared at her. Something passed between them. A conversation they'd had in whispers, in the car on the way over, in bed at night while I slept alone in this house. Why? I asked her directly. Why Danny's? Why public? She opened her mouth, closed it. Matt stepped between us. Because you need to learn. Learn what? That your words hurt people. His hand landed on the table, too loud. That you can't just say whatever you want and hide behind, I'm old and honest. Old. 54. Not old. Just tired. Tired of paying bills I never got thanked for. Tired of fixing things that would break again. Tired of having my dead wife's son look at me like I was the problem. I walked back to the table. Matt tensed. Sarah's hand went to his arm. I'll tell you what I'll do. I spoke to Matt, but I watched Sarah's face. I'll meet you at Danny's, but I won't apologize. Then what's the point? The point is, you want to have a conversation in public. Fine, we'll have it. But I'm not saying sorry for something I still believe. Matt's face turned red, veins in his neck. He was going to yell. I could feel it coming. Sarah squeezed his arm. He looked at her. Some signal passed. He stopped. 7 o'clock, she said. Saturday. I grabbed my coat from the hook by the door. The arthritis in my right thumb flared when I shoved my arm through the sleeve. I didn't wince. Your mother would be ashamed of this. Matt's voice followed me onto the porch. Don't bring Mum into this. I didn't answer. I let the screen door slam behind me and stood in the cold November air. The sky was flat grey. Somewhere, a neighbour was playing Christmas music. I had a week, 7 days to figure out why my son hated me, what Sarah was hiding, and why the only public apology in the history of our family was being demanded at a bar that served $16 burgers. My phone buzzed. Carol. I ignored it. Inside the house, I could hear Matt yelling. Sarah's voice, quieter now. A door slammed. I got in my truck and drove. I drove for 20 minutes with no destination. Past the Kroger, past the high school where Matt played football, past the cemetery where Marie was buried. The truck's heater blew warm air that smelled like old oil and dust. I pulled into the church parking lot on Broad Street and killed the engine. Sitting there, I let the memory come back. Uncle Frank's funeral, 1 year ago, November of 22. Same grey sky, same cold wind cutting through the cemetery. Frank was my mother's brother, a drunk who'd died alone in a trailer park. But family was family. I went. Matt and Sarah showed up late. She wore a black dress that cost more than my suit. Her hair was done up like she'd just come from a salon. I watched her shake hands with cousins she'd never met, smiling that careful smile, and something twisted in my gut. Marie had been gone 9 years by then. I'd raised Matt alone, worked double shifts, skipped vacations, put him through community college. And then he brings home this woman, a financial consultant, she said, who looked at our family like we were a tax return she needed to audit. At the reception, I had a beer, then another. Sarah was talking to my sister Carol near the punch bowl. I heard her laugh, and it sounded fake, rehearsed. I walked over. Nice dress, I said. Must have cost a pretty penny. She blinked. Thank you, John. I mean, for a funeral, it's real nice. Frank would have appreciated it, though he never owned anything that wasn't stained. Carol shot me a look. Sarah's smile didn't waver. I wanted to show respect. Respect, I said. That's good. You're good at that. Matt appeared beside her. Dad, come on. I'm just saying your wife knows how to dress for an occasion. She's got an eye for opportunity. That's when I said it. The word that still hung between us. Gold digger. Not loud, not shouted, just a murmur over the rim of my beer bottle. But Sarah heard. Matt heard. Carol heard. I regretted it before the bottle touched the table, but I didn't take it back. I walked away. For a week afterward, Matt wouldn't take my calls. Sarah sent a text. We need space. I spent that week hating myself and hating her in equal measure. I replayed the moment 100 times. The way her face went still, the way she didn't cry or scream. She just looked at me like I'd confirmed something she already knew. That look haunted me. I started digging, not the kind of digging that makes you proud. I called a friend who worked at a bank, asked about Sarah's accounts. Nothing unusual. I checked property records. She didn't own anything. I even drove past the apartment she and Matt rented, a 2-bedroom in a decent complex. Normal. Then I found out about her mother. Marge Lawson lived in a nursing home outside Cincinnati. She'd had a stroke 2 years earlier. The bills were piling up. Sarah was paying them herself. No help from Matt. No insurance that covered everything. I saw the numbers when my bank friend ran a credit check. $37,000 in medical debt, all in Sarah's name. She wasn't a gold digger. She was a woman drowning. I didn't know what to do with that information, so I sat on it for 2 months. Then I got a call from Carol. Sarah's mother had another stroke. She's in the hospital. Sarah's been sleeping in the waiting room. I drove to the hospital that night, didn't go inside, sat in the parking lot and watched the lights in the ICU windows. I thought about Marie, how she'd died in a room like that, how I'd held her hand until it went cold. The next morning, I wrote a check, $15,000, enough to cover the current bills. I made it out to the hospital, not to Sarah. I gave it to Carol and asked her to deliver it anonymously. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. You called her a gold digger. I know. And now you're paying her mother's hospital bills. I know. Carol took the check. You're a complicated man, John. No, just a guilty one. She mailed it. The hospital applied it to Marge's account. Sarah never knew where it came from. I made sure of that. I told myself it was enough. I'd balanced the scales. I'd fixed my mistake without having to admit I made one. But I kept watching. I kept noticing things. The way Matt's car got newer, while their apartment stayed the same. The way Sarah's face got thinner. The way Matt started avoiding my calls. Then the gambling debt showed up, $20,000. A loan shark named Tony who'd worked with a guy I knew from the construction site. Matt had been betting online, poker, sports, lost it all. I paid that too, through the same friend, cash in an envelope. No questions asked. Tony stopped calling. I never told Matt. I never told Sarah. I told myself it was protection, a father's job. But sitting in that cold truck, watching the church steeple against the grey sky, I knew the truth. I wasn't protecting them. I was protecting myself. From the shame of admitting my son was broken, from the shame of being right about something I never wanted to be right about. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my coat pocket. Sarah's name on the screen. I stared at it for 3 rings. Then I answered. John. Her voice was quiet, steady. I need to see you. Alone. Tomorrow. I gripped the phone. My thumb ached. Where? Danny's Grill. 2 o'clock. Don't tell Matt. The line went dead. I sat in the parking lot until the church lights turned on for evening service. The sky went dark. The cold seeped through my jacket. Tomorrow, I'd meet my daughter-in-law in a bar, and I had no idea what she was going to say. But I knew one thing for certain. She knew about the checks. I got to Danny's Grill at 10 till 2. The place smelled like old grease and floor cleaner. A jukebox in the corner played something country I didn't recognize. Sarah was already there, sitting in a booth near the back, her hands wrapped around a glass of water. She didn't wave. She just watched me walk over. I slid into the seat across from her. The vinyl creaked. A waitress appeared, and I ordered coffee black. Sarah already had one in front of her, untouched. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. Her fingernails were bitten down to the quick. "Thanks for coming," she said. "You said not to tell Matt." "I know, he can't know we're here." I waited. The coffee came. I wrapped my hands around the mug, letting the heat soak into my aching thumb. Sarah took a breath, then she said it. "I know about the hospital money. For my mother. All of it." My chest tightened. I didn't speak. "You paid $15,000, she continued. "Anonymous. Through a friend named Tony. I found the envelope in your desk when I helped you move the sofa last year. I saw your handwriting on a scrap of paper inside. I remembered that day. She'd come over to help me rearrange the living room. I'd left the desk drawer unlocked. I never told Matt," she said. "I never told anyone. Why are you telling me now?" She set her water down. Her hands were steady, but her voice had a tremor. "Because I need you to understand something. I'm not your enemy, John. I never was." I took a long sip of coffee. It was bitter and burned my tongue. "Then why'd you make him demand the apology?" She didn't flinch. "Because I knew you wouldn't give it." "That's not an answer." "It is." She leaned forward. "I knew you'd refuse. I knew it would push Matt to show his real self. I needed you to see what he's become." The words hung between us. A waitress passed, refilling water glasses. I watched the ice cubes clink and settle. "You pushed him," I said slowly. "You put him up to it." "Yes." "Why?" "Because he's gambling again. He owes $30,000 to a loan shark. I found the statements. His credit cards are all frozen. He's been lying to me for 6 months." She said it like she was reading a grocery list. Flat, controlled, but her eyes were wet. I set my coffee down. My hand was shaking. 30,000. Minimum. There might be more I haven't found. I thought about the money I'd already paid. The cash I'd funneled through Tony, the envelope under my mattress that was supposed to be for my retirement. "How long have you known?" "A year. I found his online accounts. I confronted him. He promised he'd stop." She blinked hard. "He didn't." "Use the apology thing to force a confrontation," she interrupted. "Because you've been protecting him, paying his debts, making it disappear. And I couldn't stop it alone." The accusation hit like a punch. I wanted to argue, but she was right. "I'm not doing it to hurt you," she said. "I'm doing it because if someone doesn't stop, he's going to destroy us all." I stared at the salt shaker on the table. A crack ran down its side. I'd bought that salt shaker. No, that was a different diner. My brain was spinning. "What do you want from me?" She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She slid it across the table. I unfolded it. It was a list, names, dates, amounts, all written in Matt's handwriting. "He keeps records," she said softly. "I found this in his jacket pocket 2 days ago. I scanned the numbers. Some I recognized as payments I'd made through Tony. Others were new, larger. from people I didn't know. There's a man named DeMarco, she said. He's already sent someone to our apartment. They broke the lock on the front door, left a note. I looked up. Did you call the police? And tell them what? My husband borrowed money from criminals. She shook her head. We can't, not yet. The coffee had gone cold. I pushed it away. I'm scared, John. Her voice cracked. I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. That's why I pushed Matt to confront you. I thought if he made you angry enough, you'd dig. You'd find out. You'd finally see. I see, I said, but I didn't. Not fully. He needs help, real help, not money in an envelope. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. And you need to stop pretending he's fine. The waitress came by with the check. I grabbed it before Sarah could. I'll pay, I said. You've carried enough. She let out a breath, almost a laugh. Thank you. We sat there in silence. The jukebox changed to a sad song about trains and leaving. I folded the list and put it in my coat pocket. What do we do now? I asked. She leaned in closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Matt's meeting someone tonight, 10 o'clock, at the old warehouse on Morrison Street. He thinks I'm working late. My blood went cold. I want you to come with me. I looked at her, the determination in her face, the fear underneath. Why? What are you planning? To end this. She reached across the table and touched my hand. I've been protecting him too, just in a different way. If we both stop at the same time, maybe he'll have no choice but to face it. I didn't answer. The clock on the wall ticked. 2:15. I'm not asking you to fight, she said. I'm asking you to witness, so he can't lie anymore. I thought about Matt, about the little boy who used to help me fix fences, about the man he'd become. 10 o'clock, I said. She nodded, gathered her purse, and slid out of the booth. At the door, she turned. John, thank you. For my mother. Then she was gone. I sat there alone for a long time, the coffee cold, the list burning a hole in my pocket. I didn't know what I'd find at that warehouse, but I knew one thing for sure. Sarah wasn't the enemy. She was the only one telling the truth. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the conversation with Sarah replaying in my head. She knew about the checks. She'd thanked me for her mother, and she wanted me to witness something at a warehouse. At 6 a.m., I gave up on sleep. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and pulled out my old phone book. Tony's number was still there, scribbled in the back. I hadn't called him since I handed him that envelope of cash for Matt's debts 6 months ago. He answered on the third ring. John, it's early. I need to see you. Today. A pause. The sound of a lighter flicking. This about your boy? Yeah. Figured. I got something you should know. Meet me at the diner on Broad. 11 o'clock. He hung up. I spent the morning organizing my garage. A nervous habit. I straightened tools I hadn't used in years, swept the concrete floor, threw away old paint cans. The arthritis in my hands kept me moving slow, but I needed the distraction. At 10:30, I drove to the diner, found a booth in the back, ordered black coffee. Tony showed up 20 minutes late, wearing his usual flannel jacket, a cigarette behind his ear. He looked older, tired. He sat down, didn't order anything, just pushed a manila envelope across the table. He's in deeper than you know. I opened the envelope. Bank statements, credit card bills, collection letters, all in Matt's name. These are from his bank, I asked. Copies. A buddy of mine works there. Said Matt's been in twice this month trying to get a loan. Denied both times. I flipped through the pages. The numbers were worse than I'd imagined. Credit card debt, $22,000. Personal loans, $8,000. And a line of credit from a payday lender at 30% interest. Online gambling, Tony said. Poker mostly, but also sports betting. He's got accounts at 3 different sites. I checked. I looked up. How do you know that? Because I still got contacts from the old days. And because someone's been leaving messages on his phone. Collection agencies. They're threatening to take him to court. I set the papers down. My hands were shaking. There's more, Tony said. He's been lying to his wife, told her he was working overtime, but his job let him go 2 months ago. He's been spending his days at a betting parlor on the west side. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. John, I know you wanted to protect him, but you need to stop. The money you gave me, it went to the same places. You were just feeding the habit. I remembered the cash I'd handed Tony, over $16,000 in total. I'd thought I was saving Matt. I'd been making it worse. What do I do? Tony leaned back. You tell his wife. You get him into treatment. And you cut him off. Completely. Or he'll drag everyone down with him. He stood up, put a 5 on the table for the coffee. I'm sorry, John. I know you love him, but love ain't always enough. He walked out. I sat there for a long time, staring at the papers. Then I made a decision. I didn't go straight to Matt's. Instead, I drove west. The betting parlor was tucked between a pawn shop and a laundromat. No sign out front, just a steel door with a peephole. I knocked. A slot slid open. A pair of eyes looked me over. Closed. I'm looking for my son, Matt Grady. The eyes narrowed. Don't know him. He's here every day. Tall brown hair, drives a blue sedan. The slot slammed shut. I waited. Heard footsteps, then the door cracked open. A man in his 50s, bald, thick arms, stood in the gap. You the one been paying his tabs? I'm his father. He laughed, a dry sound. Then you're a fool. He owes me $4,000. Been promising to pay for 3 weeks. I told him no more credit until he settles up. I felt the weight of Tony's words settle deeper. He came in today. Haven't seen him since Tuesday, but he'll be back. They always come back. He started to close the door, then stopped. Tell him if he doesn't show by Monday, I'm sending someone to collect, with interest. The door shut. I stood on the sidewalk, the afternoon sun hot on my neck. 4,000 more, on top of everything else. And that was just one place. I got back in my truck and drove to Matt's apartment. It was a 3rd-floor walk-up in a building near downtown, the kind of place with a buzzer that didn't work and mailboxes hanging open. I'd never liked it. Too small, too cheap. Sarah deserved better. I climbed the stairs. The hallway smelled like old carpet and cigarette smoke. I knocked on their door. No answer. I knocked again, harder. The door cracked open. Sarah's face appeared. Her eyes were red. Her makeup smeared. John? What happened? She shook her head, stepped back. I pushed the door open and walked in. The apartment was a mess. Couch cushions on the floor. A lamp tipped over. Papers scattered across the coffee table. And in the middle of the living room, Sarah's phone lay on the carpet, screen cracked, like it had been thrown. I turned to her. She was crying now, silent tears running down her cheeks. He found out, she whispered. He found out I met you. I looked around. Where is he? Gone. He took the car, said he was going to get money from some guy he owes. I grabbed her arm. Sarah, how much does he owe? She looked at me. Her eyes were empty. $30,000, and they're coming tomorrow to collect. I parked my truck 3 blocks from the warehouse on Morrison Street. 10 minutes to 10. The street was empty. Streetlights flickered. A dog barked somewhere far off. I killed the engine and sat in the dark. My breath fogged the windshield. I was too old for this. Too old to be spying on my own son like some private eye in a bad movie. But I was here. Because Sarah asked. Because I needed to know. At exactly 10 o'clock, headlights swept around the corner. Matt's blue sedan pulled into the gravel lot beside the warehouse. He parked facing the building. The engine stayed on, idling. I watched from behind the wheel. He didn't get out. He just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring ahead. Then he pulled out his phone. The warehouse was old, brick, windows boarded up. No one else was around, no second car, no dealer, no meeting. Just Matt in his car, calling someone. I rolled down my window a crack. The cold air bit my face. I could just make out his voice through the thin metal gap. He was talking loud, frustrated. "No, I told you. She's the one who started this whole thing. I didn't want to do it." Pause. "Because she threatened to leave me, man. What was I supposed to do? She said if I didn't make him apologize public, she was gone." My chest tightened. I leaned closer to the gap in the window. She's got all the evidence. She knows about the gambling, the credit cards, everything. She said the only way she stays is if I prove I can stand up to my father, show some backbone. So I did it. I made the demand. He laughed, bitter. Yeah, but he said no, just like she expected. She knew he'd refuse. She wanted him to refuse. That was the whole point. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Look, I gotta go. Yeah. I'll call you tomorrow." No, I don't know what she's planning next, but whatever it is, it's working. She's playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. He ended the call. The engine revved. He backed out of the lot and drove away. I sat in my truck for a long time. The street went silent again. The dog stopped barking. The wind picked up, rattling a loose metal sign above a closed storefront. Sarah had orchestrated this, the public apology, the demand, the whole confrontation at Thanksgiving. It wasn't about my insult. It wasn't about protecting her honor. It was a trap, a test, a way to force me into a corner. And I'd walked right into it. I started the engine. My hands were shaking, not from the cold. I drove home in a daze. The streets of Columbus blurred past. I kept replaying Matt's words. She wanted him to refuse. That was the whole point. What was she trying to accomplish? To expose me, to humiliate me, to prove I was the bad guy so she could take Matt's side and leave with a clear conscience. I didn't know, but I was going to find out. I pulled into my driveway at 10:45. The house was dark. I unlocked the front door, stepped inside, and flipped the light switch. Nothing. The bulb was dead. I'd been meaning to replace it for a week. I stood in the dark, letting my eyes adjust. The faint glow from the streetlight filtered through the living room blinds. I saw the outline of the sofa, the coffee table, the armchair, and the figure sitting in it. My heart stopped. Then a woman's voice, calm and familiar. "Don't turn on the light. We need to talk. Sarah." She stood up slowly, walked toward me. The streetlight caught her face. She looked tired, but determined. "I know you heard," she said. "I followed you. I saw you at the warehouse. My throat was dry. You set me up." "No, I set him up. I needed you to hear the truth from his mouth, not from mine." "Then tell me, what's the truth?" She took a breath, held my gaze. "The truth is, I've been trying to save Matt for 2 years, and I can't do it alone. You've been enabling him, paying his debts. keeping his secrets, and it's destroying him. She stepped closer, her voice cracked. I forced him to demand the apology because I knew you'd refuse. I knew you'd fight back, and I knew that fight would force everything into the open. The gambling, the money, the lies. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. This is a list. Every debt, every payment you made through Tony, every envelope of cash. I've had it for 6 months. I stared at the paper, and now I'm giving it to you. Because I can't do this alone anymore. She held it out. My hand didn't move. Please, John, I'm not your enemy. I'm the only one trying to save your son. The paper hung between us. The streetlight flickered. The house was silent. I took it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The list Sarah had given me burning a hole in my coat pocket downstairs. $30,000. Every payment, every date, every envelope I'd handed to Tony. She'd known all along. By morning, I'd made a decision. I called Matt and told him to come to my house, alone. No Sarah, no excuses. He started to argue, and I hung up. He showed up at noon. I heard his truck pull into the driveway. The door opened, his boots on the porch. He knocked twice, soft, like he wasn't sure he wanted me to answer. I opened the door. He looked awful. Dark circles under his eyes. His shirt wrinkled. He hadn't shaved. For a second, I saw the little boy who used to cry when he scraped his knee. Come in. He stepped inside. I closed the door behind him. We stood in the living room, the oak dining table between us like a barrier. Sit down. He sat. I stayed standing. The arthritis in my hip was acting up, but I didn't want to be level with him. I wanted to look down. I know about the gambling, I said. I know about the 30,000. I know about Tony. His face went white. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. How? That doesn't matter. What matters is you're going to tell me the truth. Every bit of it. Starting now. He stared at me. His hands were shaking. He put them on his knees to steady them. Dad, I can explain. No. My voice came out harder than I meant. No more explaining, just the truth. He sat there for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked. The furnace kicked on. Outside, a car drove past. Then he slid off the chair. He knelt on the floor. Right there in my living room, on the carpet my wife picked out 20 years ago, my son went down on his knees. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I didn't move. My chest felt like someone was sitting on it. I've been lying to everyone, he said. Sarah, you, myself. I thought I could win it back. Every time I lost, I thought the next hand would fix it. Tears started falling down his face. He didn't wipe them away. I'm an addict, Dad. I know that now. I've known it for a year, but I didn't know how to stop. I looked at him, my son, on his knees, begging, and I felt nothing but anger. Not at him, at myself. For every envelope of cash I'd handed Tony, every time I'd told myself I was helping, every night I'd gone to bed pretending Matt was fine. Get up. He shook his head. Not until you forgive me. I said get up. He stood slowly, like an old man. His face was wet. He wouldn't meet my eyes. How long? I asked. 2 years, maybe longer. It started with poker online, then sports betting. Then I found a guy at a bar who ran private games. And the money I gave Tony. He closed his eyes. I knew. I didn't know it was you at first. But after a while, I figured it out. Tony never asked questions. He just handed me envelopes. And you never asked where they came from. He shook his head. I walked to the window. The backyard was bare. The oak tree I'd planted when Matt was born stood grey and leafless against the winter sky. I paid your debts because I thought I was protecting you, I said. I thought if I handled it quietly, you'd stop. You'd learn your lesson without anyone knowing. I turned to face him. But you didn't stop. You just got better at hiding. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Sarah knew everything, I said. She's been carrying this alone, trying to save you while I was making it worse. His head snapped up. Sarah knew. She's known for months. She gave me a list. Every payment, every date. She's been watching you destroy yourself, Matt. And she's been watching me help you do it. He sat down on the couch. His hands covered his face. His shoulders shook. I let him cry. I didn't sit next to him. I didn't comfort him. I stood by the window and let him feel it. After a long time, he looked up. What do I do now? You tell Sarah the truth. All of it. Not the version you think she wants to hear. The real truth. And then you find help. I'm scared. Good. You should be. I walked over and sat across from him. The coffee table between us. The same table where we'd done homework together 20 years ago. I'm not going to pay another cent, I said. Not one. You want to fix this, you fix it yourself. I'll be here, but I'm done enabling you. He nodded, wiped his face with his sleeve. I love you, Dad. I didn't say it back, not because I didn't mean it, but because I needed him to sit in the weight of what he'd done. The front door opened. We both turned. Sarah walked in. She had her coat on, her keys in her hand. She looked at Matt, red-eyed and ruined on the couch. Then she looked at me. She walked over and stood in front of him. He didn't look up. I know, he said. Everything. Dad told me. She nodded slowly. Then she turned to me. Now you see why I did it. Her voice was quiet, not angry. Not sad, just tired. I couldn't save him alone, and you wouldn't stop until you saw it for yourself. She was right. I'd spent 2 years pretending Matt's problems were financial. That money could fix anything. That love meant writing checks and keeping secrets. It didn't. What happens now? I asked. Sarah sat down next to Matt. She didn't touch him, but she didn't leave either. Now we all stopped lying. The three of us sat there in the grey afternoon light, a father, a son, a daughter-in-law who'd been carrying more than either of us knew, and for the first time in 2 years, nobody was hiding anything. The clock on my mantel ticked, 3:15 in the afternoon. The light coming through the window was thin and grey. Sarah sat on the edge of my couch. Matt was beside her, head down, hands clasped between his knees. He hadn't spoken since we'd walked in. The paper from the warehouse was still crumpled in my pocket. I leaned against the kitchen counter. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago. Start talking, I said. Sarah looked at me, no flinching, no tears. I knew about the payments, she said. All of them, the hospital bills, the gambling debts. I found the bank statements 6 months ago. I felt something drop in my chest. You knew. I knew you were paying Tony. I knew you were covering for Matt, and I knew it wasn't helping. She leaned forward. Her voice was steady. Every time you paid a debt, Matt learned he could gamble more. Every time you hid the truth, he learned he could lie better. You were saving his wallet, but you were destroying him. I opened my mouth, closed it. I couldn't stop you, she said. You wouldn't have listened, and I couldn't stop him. He didn't respect me enough, so I needed a different way. Matt's head stayed down, his shoulders shook. I made him demand the apology, she said. I told him if he didn't stand up to you, I'd leave. I knew you'd refuse. I knew you'd push back. And I knew that push would crack everything open. She paused. The clock ticked. I was right. I stood there. The anger I'd been carrying for 2 days started to shift. It didn't disappear, but it turned into something else. You used me, I said. Yes. You manipulated both of us. Yes. And you think that makes you innocent? She shook her head. No, I'm not innocent. I've been lying too. I pretended I didn't know about the money. I pretended Matt was fine. I let you think I was the enemy because it was easier than telling the truth. She looked at Matt, then back at me. I did what I had to do to save him, because I love him, and because I knew you loved him too. But your love was killing him. I sat down in the armchair across from them. The arthritis in my knee shot a bolt of pain. I didn't care. I was trying to protect him, I said. I know. I thought if I paid the debts, he'd stop. I thought he'd learn. He didn't. No, he didn't. I looked at Matt. His face was wet. He looked like a child. My child. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready. Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder. She set it on the coffee table. That's everything, she said. Every debt. Every payment you made. Every date Matt placed a bet. I've been tracking it for 2 years. I looked at the folder. It was thick. I'm not giving it to the police, she said. I'm giving it to you, because you need to see what you've been paying for. I picked it up, opened it. The first page was a credit card statement. Matt's name. Charges from online betting sites. $5,000 in 1 month. I turned the page. Another statement. A loan from a friend. $3,000. Page after page. It went on. My hands started to shake. How much? I asked. Total? With interest and penalties. $42,000. I looked at Matt. Is that all? He shook his head. There's more. I owe people. They don't do paper. I closed the folder, set it down. Sarah spoke again. John, I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I am asking you to stop. Stop what? Stop paying. Stop covering. Let him face the consequences, or he'll never change. She was right. I knew she was right. I'd known it for years, but I'd been too scared to admit it. I'll stop paying, I said. The words hung in the air. Matt looked up. His eyes were red. Dad? I'll stop paying, but I'll help you both get him into treatment. Sarah's face shifted. Relief. Just a flicker. There's a program, she said. Inpatient. 30 days. I've already called them, but someone has to go with him. Someone has to sign him in. I looked at Matt. I'll do it. He started crying. Big, ugly sobs. He buried his face in his hands. Sarah moved closer to him, put her arm around his shoulder. I sat there in my armchair, the folder heavy on my lap, and watched my son fall apart. And for the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel the need to fix it. I just let him break. Christmas Eve. Snow falling outside the living room window. The kind of quiet snow that blankets everything and makes the world feel new. I stood at the stove, stirring gravy. Sarah was in the kitchen with me, slicing carrots. Matt was in the living room, setting the table. 3 plates, 3 glasses, no drama. It had been 3 weeks since the warehouse. 3 weeks since Matt had come home from the inpatient program. He'd been clean for 12 days now. That was the term they used. Clean. Like washing something off that had been stuck for years. Sarah stopped slicing. She looked at me. You don't have to do this, she said. Do what? Apologize. I know you meant what you said at the funeral. I set down the spoon. The gravy was too thick. I didn't care. I didn't mean it the way it came out. I was scared. Scared you'd take my son away. Scared I'd lose him like I lost his mother. She didn't look away. I know. I thought you were after his money, but he didn't have any, and you stuck around anyway. She smiled, a small one. I love him, John, even when he's broken. I nodded. That was the part I'd missed. Love wasn't about protecting someone from their mistakes. It was about staying when they made them. We carried the food to the table. Turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans. The same meal from Thanksgiving, but everything felt different. The turkey was moist. The conversation was careful. After dinner, Matt cleared the plates. He moved slow, deliberate, like he was learning how to be in a room again. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said, "for everything." I looked at him. His eyes were clear, his hands steady. "I know. I start the new job next week. At the warehouse. Sarah's cousin is giving me a chance." I nodded. It wasn't construction. It wasn't what I wanted for him, but it was a start. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Her fingers were warm. "Thank you," she said, "for stopping." I squeezed her hand, then I let go. The snow kept falling. The house was warm, and for the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel the need to fix anything. I just sat there, with my family, and let the silence be enough. Then my phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "John Miller." "Yeah. This is Officer Daniels from Columbus PD. We have a Matthew Miller here. He was picked up at a casino on the east side. He's asking for you." I looked at Matt. He was washing dishes at the sink, his back to me. The snow kept falling.